All right, hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Celtics Roundtable here on the Boston Celtics newsfeed. I'm Matt Ignal, joined by my brother Jonathan. We got Sam Sheehan along here too, and we are thrilled to once again be joined by Jared Weiss. You can find him on Celtics blog, you can find him on the Garden Report. He's here with us now. We're going to talk about the schedule, which was released on Monday. But first, we want to tell you that we're brought to you by Audible. Just go to audible.com/CelticsBeat for a free audiobook by signing up for a 30-day trial. So even bigger news, actually, than this schedule being released, guys, was the news coming out that Brad Stevens apparently plays 10 to 15 games of Miss Pacman in between film sessions. As a gamer, Sam Sheehan, what do you think about this?
Well, the first thing I could think of, we on our last episode, we talked about, the obvious impact of like Jaylen Brown, becoming a leader. Here we're seeing just how far the women respecting of Jason Tatum has come. As Brad Stevens, he could be playing Pac-Man, but what is he playing? Miss Pac-Man. I think that says a lot about, the team culture and, what sort of top-down, sort of example they're trying to set out here. I think I'm thrilled just to find out that Brad Stevens does anything besides watch tape and I maybe eat, I guess. I think maybe he probably just drinks like a vitamin mix of nutrients so he could watch more film. So it's good to know that Brad is also a gamer, and I can kind of see how he was able to recruit Gordon Hayward now.
Well, guys, what's the most important thing to coaching? Spatial reasoning and hand-eye coordination. Obvious. That's why this man trains every single day. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I like that he plays a game that probably only existed when he was a child. Or rephrase that. He plays a game from his childhood. He doesn't even play NFL Blitz. He's not playing Super Smash or Super Smash Melee. There are multiple options for Super Smash. He is old school. He keeps it old school. That's why he's everyone's dad, I guess.
Also, don't be surprised if Greg Popovich is playing Miss Pac-Man by this time next week.
Is there like online Miss Pac-Man? Like, can they play each other Xbox Live or anything like that?
Oh, for sure.
Sam would know.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. They probably have LAN parties. Let's get Brad Stevens a Twitch account so he can stream him and Pop playing Miss Pac-Man.
I just want to make sure Brad has updated his Shockwave player just to be safe. There's all sorts of viruses out there.
Right, yeah.
He could be using Napster at the same time, and he's so exposed. I mean, I'm sure he's on a Mac. He plays it safe.
Right, yeah. Well, you got Firefox and some other downloads. Chrome. You can download the plugins just to update it. But, I think very good to know that Brad has a hobby outside of basketball. Everyone's got to have something, man.
What a hobby it is. All right, let's get to our secondary topic here. Definitely our more minor topic. Schedule was released on Monday, a little before 6 p.m. I think. Main takeaways. I'll leave it to the floor. Like, who's got the hottest take here?
I think this is the season Brad Stevens finally beats Greg Popovich.
We said that last year.
We said it last year. We probably said it the year before. I mean, Pop's been stealing from him long enough. It's time for the old bull to move over and for that young calf to play some Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and slide in.
So does that happen in the October game? October 30th.
October 30th, yep.
It's at home at least.
Halloween. Trick or treat. I guess the day before Halloween.
Any other games you guys have circled?
Yeah, I think the Wizards game on Christmas could be a lot of fun. I think there was the comments today that Markieff Morris thinks that that with Marcus being on the Celtics now, it's going to kind of chill the rivalry. I do not think that at all. I think that these teams really don't like each other. I think all it'll do is the Morai are kind of like guys who excuse themselves.
Moriai.
I think they will be the Moriai. How would we phrase that? It's spelled Mori for sure. That's how you pluralize Morris's. But the Morai are definitely they love each other very deeply and are probably not going to fight each other. But I do think that they will. I'm very excited to have Marcus Morris and Marcus Smart on the same team. I think that they have a lot of potential for, sort of imposing wills on games. And I think the Celtics got even more physical. They've got a lot of physical players. They did lose Avery Bradley, but they've got a lot of other guys who will, kind of make that game physical. And I think I have a prediction that's probably going to be the best game of the day actually on Christmas. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I was just thinking today, like how crazy good that Wizards series was. You kind of almost like lose into the moment, but that game that series had like multiple giant Celtics comebacks, I think, in the first 2 games. It had like a game winner from John Wall in Game 6, and then we all remember Game 7. I mean, I feel like it almost got lost amongst the recordings, just how good that series was. So yeah, I definitely have that one circled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one thing that's really interesting, they only have 7 home games in the last 2 months of the season.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tricky. They're playing mostly at home in November and December, and then it gets pretty evenly. Actually, in February they only have 4 road games, so February is pretty friendly to them. But it's they get their West Coast trip out of the way early. They do it in late January, where they do a Laker back-to-back. Or a LA back-to-back, then Golden State, and then Denver, who could be a good dark horse playoff team. And then they have another West Coast swing at the end of March. But that one's relatively easier because it's like, it's Portland, Sacramento, Phoenix, and then Utah with the Gordon Hayward return game. So those West Coast swings are going to be really interesting. But the fact that they have a ton of road play at the later stage of the year, it's going to be a concern, and probably a serious. There's going to be a ton of resting, and it's going to be where their versatility comes into play, because they're going to have lots of. I mean, they have 2 back-to-backs on all those West Coast or all those road games towards the end of the year. They're going to be resting a lot of guys, and Terry Rozier is probably going to be starting some of it. I mean, assuming he's not MVP at that point, but they're going to be
because there's no way they trade him.
Well, I mean, he's untouchable, as I have reported, and has been twisted beyond my control over the years. He's not untouchable. He just wasn't traded for Serge Ibaka because that was a smart move, which proved to be a pretty smart move at the end of the day. But the schedule, I think, just looking at, I've had about 20 minutes to really review it before we went on, and it looks pretty good for them. I mean, they get some of these big games out of the way early. It's pretty funny that the league is cutting down on back-to-backs. The Celtics go from 17 last year to 14 this year, and they open the season on a back-to-back. That's pretty funny. But, I mean, if you're going to do a back-to-back, might as well do it early when your team's completely fresh. And it's Cleveland and then Milwaukee, so it's not the craziest thing in the world. But I'm excited for all these return games. Avery Bradley return game on November 27th against Detroit. Gordon Hayward going back to Utah. That's going to be really, really exciting.
Any chance he gets jeered?
No, that's the Utah people in Utah are good people. They're not like crappy Boston people. So like they'll be fine. He'll be fine. I think he'll get a standing ovation. He'll get showered with love, especially the way for all the frustration that people had in Utah with him leaving. The way he left is probably better than just about anyone who's left. I mean, he wrote a 2,000-word piece where the title was "Thank You Utah." I'm thanking Utah. And everybody was supportive of him, from Dennis Lindsay to Quinn Snyder. So I think he's going to be welcomed with open arms when he comes back to Utah.
I think he gets booed. Booed by the whole stadium. Those 4 hours.
Booed by the traveling Boston fans.
How many July 4th did Gordon Hayward ruin? I know he affected mine a little bit. I mean, those 4 hours were rough.
He messed mine up pretty bad. I was at a pool party in L.A. and I had to get out of the pool to go write my story on Gordon Hayward, and screwed it up like 3 times. I know life was so difficult that day. And then I went back to partying and playing music all night. So yeah, it was a pretty sad night for me. My life was pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's such a coincidence. I was also at a pool party in LA.
Live streaming?
Yeah, no, well, it was my usual Instagram models, everyone around, so it's pretty standard day for me. I definitely, wasn't at work banging out, definitely checking Twitter every 10 seconds and posting different videos on my lunch start of me being sad with the Charlie Brown music when I looked like he might not be going to back to the Celtics.
Well, you guys know. What goes great with a pool party? It's Audible. Today's show is brought to you by them, the leading provider of premium digital spoken audio information and entertainment on the internet. Their content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, as well as business information providers. Simply download and listen on iOS device, Android, Amazon Fire tablets, Windows Phone. Let me tell you why Audible is different. Once I scroll down.
Come on, the king of the read. He's got to keep going.
I hit the up arrow. Audible is different because of their collection of exclusive originals, short stories, and comedy. Plus, you get the best of news, podcasts, and more, hand-picked and continuously refreshed. You can share a book from your library with anyone. It comes with speed control. It's a great way to get content on the go, by the pool, wherever. So they are now offering our loyal listeners a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audible.com/CelticsBeat to browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audible.com/CelticsBeat. That's audible.com/CelticsBeat and get started today. All right, where were we?
Let's segue to the Nets.
Beautiful read.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, exactly. I've always said that, like, Audible, girls are always asking me, coming up to me, being like, Sam, how can I, how do you know all these Redwall books if you can't read? Because, I can't read. So, and that's where Audible comes in, is it's really helped me, sort of have something to talk with women about on the train. By that I mean I go up to them and I tell them that I'm listening to the Redwall books, and they move to the other end of the train and usually get out at the next station. It's crazy.
Hey, at least you got train money.
I always thought I always thought the ladies wanted Audible because they wanted to be able to still look into your eyes while gaining knowledge.
That's a good point. Great point. I never thought of it like that. We should work that into the next read, Matt. If we could.
John, you wanted to talk about the Nets. We got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, while you guys were looking at the Celtics schedule, I mean, the regular season necessarily doesn't. I don't see the huge value in it at this point. I think the Celtics are good enough where they're probably locked in my eyes, to like a top 4 seed regardless. Where they'll end up, I'm not sure, but I'm more concerned with that Nets pick,
to be honest.
Yeah, probably. But I was more concerned with the Nets schedule. And when I looked at it, I mean, after March 1st, they're not really playing too many teams that should be tanking. I know they have the Bulls twice. They have the Magic and the Mavericks and the Kings. But other than that, I mean, they have a pretty tough schedule towards the end. And it's looking good for the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Nets are going to, like, they played hard at the end of last year. And they're like the Nets are kind of like they're starting to like get to like where the Celtics were in like 2013-14, where I think they're going to start to be like in games and like
they're in games. They were in games last year,
right? Well, and I think people underestimate Jeremy Lin, like how much Jeremy Lin being hurt really ruined their season. Well, more than it could have been. I guess that's like saying they let poop spoil, but like you can't actually I think you can't really like underestimate. I'm looking at, I really think that just by playing in the East, I think the Nets are going to get an inflated wins because geez, there are a lot of bad teams in the East, and like no one has any incentive to not tank. Like even these teams making the playoffs, like who wants to make the playoffs? But
not me.
But did the Nets get better from a roster talent standpoint? Because, I mean, you lost Brook Lopez. You got D'Angelo Russell, Timofey Mozgov, and Jared Allen. I mean, I think Brook Lopez is more valuable than those guys.
Didn't they get Carroll?
Crabbe?
They got some guys.
Yeah, they got DeMarre Carroll, who might be good under good things. I also, hot take, we've seen, how replaceables, centers are. Like, Brook Lopez is very good. He's an all-star, but he also doesn't really defend at an elite level, or do a lot of the other things. He's kind of a ball stopping big. There's a really cool thing on, I think it was Nylon Calculus, where someone broke down all the positions and where the value added. Yeah, I think he broke everything down in about 23 different positions, such as like scoring ball handler, post, like bully wings, and post bigs and stuff like that. And basically what it spat out was that all bigs are pretty replaceable.
Even a stretch big?
Run. Even a stretch, like stretch bigs were, I think, actually the most replaceable, which was interesting. Just because a lot of times with the stretch big, you're getting, I think there might have been a grouping problem because I think stretch fours are much easier to replace than stretch fives. But and the big kind of muddies that a little bit. But I don't think they're going to miss Brook Lopez. The value added there is as much as you would get when you're a bad team. Having good coaching and sort of being able to stay in high effort games, especially when your opponents are going to be bad night in and night out by playing in the Eastern Conference. I think that's going to be more important towards their things. I think the Lakers are going to be worse than people think, though, on the flip side of that.
I mean, they play in the West just as easy as the East is. They have a rookie point guard in that Western Conference. But one more point on the Nets. I mean, their big three is Jeremy Lin, D'Angelo Russell, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. Like, I don't know if I can name 3 or 4 teams that have a big three as bad as those guys. Like, D'Angelo had a bad supporting cast with the Lakers last year. He didn't do much. I think a change of scenery is important. He could take that next step. But, I mean, I'm not super high on D'Angelo or anything.
Yeah, but I don't know. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is kind of like Marcus Smart in that, like, he's bad shooting, but the floor stats, like, love him. And there's actually a lot of value there. He's kind of someone I actually would have liked the Celtics to target in years past. I think they're pretty set now. They don't really need guys like him anymore. But I think there's a lot of value in some of these young guys they have. I mean, we'll see what happens with D'Angelo Russell. But traditionally, those are the kind of guys you want to be making a bet on. I would not be surprised at all to see him get out of that toxic Lakers situation under like a coach and a system that knows what they're doing. And, make no mistake, the Nets are on the way up organizationally. They know what they're doing, which is a little scary. I'm glad this is the last year the Celtics have their picks, So, I mean, we'll see. But just my take on the Nets is I don't think they'll make the playoffs or anything like that, but I do not think they will be as bad as I don't think I think the days of them being in the bottom 3 are pretty much over at this point.
Let's get back to the schedule a little bit. Jared, did any other games stick out to you?
Let's see. I feel like we covered everything. I mean, obviously the Warriors pretty early on is really interesting. The fact that they wanted to set that up right in the middle of like this. Right in the middle of November kind of shows that they want to have kind of like the NBA wants to have this kind of bookended storyline where like they have the Celtics playing the Warriors early on to kind of like get that rivalry spark throughout the season so that it's kind of in people's heads throughout the year as this could be a future finals or this could be a finals preview here. So having them play them and then playing them again in January gives enough space between those two games. But I think the NBA set that one up to try to really emphasize that storyline of the Celtics versus the Warriors. And there's going to be a ton of hype around that game. It's a Friday. It's a Thursday night game actually. So it'll be on TNT, I believe, right? So I mean, there's going to be a ton of hype around that one. And I think that's going to be really interesting is to see the way the Celtics are put into finals preview scenarios and stuff like that. They play Houston at is that on New Year's Eve, I believe, or no? It's a couple days before New Year's Eve. But I mean, they've got some interesting primetime TNT matchups and even some ABC matchups against teams where these can be billed as finals preview games. So it's exciting times, I guess, for Boston fans where your team is the team that's talked about, especially when we'll see what the hell happens with KYRIE. But if KYRIE gets traded and Cavaliers do not come out of that well, I mean, Boston's going to be looked at as the co-front runner to make the finals.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I counted between ESPN, ABC, and TNT 25 games for the Celtics, not including NBA TV. So definitely a huge leap there. Yeah, I think we can safely say that these are good times.
Why are you not including NBA TV? What do you got against them?
But the fact that almost a third of their games are national games, not even including TNT, is massive. I mean that's elite. That's an elite team status. I don't have the Warriors count in front of me, but I'm sure
Lakers have more.
Yeah, but Whatever.
Someone once told me Lonzo gets views. All right, guys, let's wrap this one up here. If you like the show, hit the like button and subscribe to CLNS Media if you're watching us on YouTube. If you like listening to us on the go ahead and subscribe to the Boston Celtics newsfeed, available on your favorite podcast app, or you can download the CLNS Radio mobile app. Be sure to give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Just search Boston Celtics newsfeed. We really appreciate those. I want to thank Jared Weiss, Sam Sheehan, and my brother Jonathan for coming on. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about a few different topics, perhaps related to Jared Weiss's recent appearance on Real GM Radio with Tim Bontemps and Danny LaRue. So we want to thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.